My name is Benjamin Hale, and I am a writer. I grew up in Colorado. I went to the workshop here, so this town, Iowa City, is in my blood at this point. I love this place. Ate breakfast at the Hamburg Inn today, just out of like nostalgia. The place where I once met, happened to meet Bill Clinton during the Iowa caucuses. And I'm in Iowa City today to read from my novel, The Evolution of Bruno Littlemore, which came out about almost 4 weeks ago. Well, let's see. One of the questions that I get asked most often has to do with the chimp-human sex in the novel. People are always, pruriently interested in that for some reason. I don't know why. And that's honestly a question that I don't know. I probably answer it different every time, just because it's not the question that I'm personally the most interested in that has to do with the novel. Just because that is the thing that I don't know. I knew that I wanted that to happen from the from like page one of the novel, and I would hope that it feels kind of natural to the novel. That's one of the questions that I certainly get asked the most. I know that like in every interview that question is coming. They don't ask it first. They usually wait till like the fifth or sixth question to ask it. But that's probably the question I get asked the most. Yeah, when I lived here in Iowa City, honestly, I wrote a great deal of the novel from the top floor of the art library, which I believe is not open anymore because it was damaged in the flood. Right? I don't know. I mean, which is a shame because it's a beautiful building. But they had this beautiful kind of wing of the library that was cantilevered over this pond. And I would go up there and write, and there was like hardly anybody there, and it was so bright and peaceful and quiet up there. It was a really wonderful place to write. That was one of my favorite quiet places, but I understand you can't get into the building anymore because they wisely built that thing right in the floodplain. As far as these days, I don't know. I live in New York now, and so there aren't any quiet places there. I really can't work when there's music playing. Well, it depends on the music. I can, I can write if there's music that's like instrumental and doesn't have a beat, like classical music. I can write to that just because I can kind of ignore it. But other than that, if there's music with lyrics, I can't multitask. It just completely gums up my gears, and I can't write with music playing. For writing? Yeah, I mean, I guess my best recharging method is to drink a bunch of coffee and pace around in circles in the middle of my living room. But barring that, sometimes I'll go for a walk or go for a bike ride. That often helps. I'll ride my bike around and then come home with a few good sentences kind of like in my head that I can kind of build off from. A word or a phrase? Yeah, the word like. I'm kind of a simile slut. I use way too many similes. I say this is like this, and then I wind up looking at the page and seeing the word like all over the page because I'm always comparing things to other things. And so, yeah, the word like I wind up cutting a lot. That's an interesting question. Yeah, I mean there are stories that I've always had kind of in the back burner of my mind, kind of like in this storage place that I've always been wanting to write, but just haven't been able to write yet. Either just because I don't have the time, or I haven't found sort of like a way to write them that I'm quite happy about. There's this one particular story uh, about this like sadomasochistic sexual relationship that I've written, written and rewritten over and over and over again, and I've never been able to get anything out of it that I'm quite happy with. But one day I hope to return to that and actually finish it. For me, and really this is this is an obsession that is absolutely, you know, central to my life. Is that with spirituality, religion, et cetera. On the one hand, with all that stuff, I'm just totally Christopher Hitchens about that stuff. You know, I'm like one of the most anti-religious people you probably ever hope to meet or want to meet. On the other hand, I have this idea that that art in general, and just in storytelling and narrative and music and all that sort of stuff, is closely psychologically connected to the same part of the human brain that wants to, you know, believe in God or believe in superstitions or in that sort of thing. That storytelling, and as a matter of fact, there's this beautiful Borges essay that I always give to my students called Narrative Art and Magic, where he says that there's a connection between the psychology of storytelling and the psychology of magic. You know, he says it's a frenzied, clear-cut causality that is the torture or nightmare of the law of cause and effect, not its opposite, which I think is an absolutely beautiful way to describe the way that storytelling kind of works in our minds. And yes, those things are connected to the things that I hate the most about religion and about superstition and pseudoscience and all that stuff. And that is honestly a question that I kind of struggle with both in my head and in my writing, and it's one of the central themes of the novel that I'm going to be reading from tonight. I think that one of the most important elements of good writing is confidence in your voice, is to write like you believe that what you are saying deserves to be heard. And I think that that all truly great writing has that in common, even though it might, you know, be different. That one piece of great writing and another might be different in all other aspects. That, I think, is something that these two different pieces of great writing will have in common. And so I would say a writer, if you're going to say with a capital W, you know, not just somebody who writes out a grocery list, but somebody who's like a really great writer, is a writer who believes his or her voice deserves to be heard.